She thought it was just a trash can. To her, it was nothing more than an excuse to remind him he didn't belong, that his presence, his skin, his very existence was an inconvenience to her perfect little HOA world. Day after day, she knocked it over, smirking as if victory came in the form of spilled garbage. But what she didn't know was that this black homeowner had been watching and planning. When his answer finally came, it wasn't just for her, it was for every person who's ever been told they don't belong. Marcus Johnson loved the quiet rhythm of his neighborhood. A proud homeowner, he had worked years to afford his modest house on a tree-lined street. His mornings were steady coffee on the porch, a quick wave to neighbors heading off to work, and evenings spent tinkering in the garage or mowing the lawn. It wasn't perfect, but to Marcus, it was home. Yet there was one constant reminder that not everyone saw it that way. The HOA president, a woman the neighbors quietly referred to as Karen, seemed to take issue with everything he did. If his grass grew half an inch too high, she wrote a complaint. If a tool was left near his driveway, she snapped a picture. And then, of course, there was the trash can, his trash can, that she seemed to target more than anything else. Every week, Marcus would find it tipped over, rolling into the street, trash scattered across the curb. At first, he thought it was kids messing around, but the pattern was too deliberate, too consistent. Each time he noticed her smug glance, the quick look away when their eyes met, Marcus kept his cool, determined not to give her the satisfaction. But deep down, he knew this wasn't just about a trash can. This was about respect, something she refused to give. It started small, just a toppled trash can once a week. Marcus would sigh, clean up the mess, and move on with his day. But soon, it wasn't just once. It was every collection day, every chance she had to make her presence felt. No matter how carefully he placed the can, no matter how neat his yard looked, Karen found a way to disrupt it. At first, Marcus tried to brush it off. He told himself not to give her power over his peace, but the persistence began to wear him down. Neighbors walked past the scattered trash with tight smiles, pretending not to notice. Some whispered that she was just particular, but Marcus knew better. This wasn't about rules or neatness. This was targeted. This was about him. The humiliation stung most on mornings when he left for work in his pressed shirt and tie, only to step over spilled garbage, coffee grounds, food scraps, bills with his name on them, broadcasting to the street who the problem neighbor was. And every time, Karen's eyes followed him, cold, calculated, almost daring him to react. Marcus began documenting the incidents, snapping photos of the trash, the tire tracks near his curb, even catching glimpses of her in the act from his window. Still, she carried on, emboldened by the silence of those around her. He realized it wasn't just about trash anymore. It was about territory, about reminding him daily that in her eyes he didn't belong. One afternoon, Marcus returned home to find his trash can not only knocked over, but dented, its lid cracked in two. That was the moment something shifted inside him. The quiet endurance, the patience, he felt them burn away. This wasn't going to stop on its own. If she wanted a fight, he'd give her one, but not in the way she expected. Instead of confrontation, Marcus began to plan. He researched, he measured, he drew sketches late into the night, This wasn't about anger anymore. It was about justice, about taking back control of that, and then the day came. With his new solution finally ready, he placed the trash can neatly at the curb, just like always. To any passerby, it looked ordinary, harmless, but Marcus knew better not as he stepped back into his house. He glanced across the street. There she was, watching him with that same smug expression. She didn't know it yet, but this time, the game was about to change. The next morning, the air was thick with expectation. Marcus sat by the window, coffee mug in hand, eyes fixed on the curb. Right on schedule, Karen emerged from her driveway, striding across the street with the same entitlement she always carried. She didn't hesitate. With a sharp kick, she struck the trash can. But instead of toppling over like before, the can stayed firmly in place. She tried again, harder this time, but Marcus had anchored it deep into the ground, reinforced with steel and concrete. The only thing that gave way was her balance. Her foot slipped, her body jolted, and with a loud thud, she landed on the pavement. The crash echoed down the street, drawing curtains back and doors open. Neighbors peeked out, eyes widening as they saw. Their HOA president sprawled on the curb, defeated not by Marcus's words, but by his quiet resilience. The murmurs began. Some chuckled under their breath. Others shook their heads, finally witnessing the pettiness they had pretended not to see. And Marcus? He didn't rush outside, didn't gloat, didn't say a word. He simply sipped his coffee, calm and steady. As the scene unfolded, for the first time, it wasn't him who looked humiliated. It was her, and everyone knew it. When the trap was finally sprung, Karen's smug confidence vanished. The ordinary trash can she thought she could tip over had been reinforced, bolted, and cleverly modified. Instead of spilling Marcus's life onto the street, it stood its ground, and she didn't. The loud crash, the startled yelp, the stunned faces of nearby neighbors. It was all the proof Marcus needed. In that single moment, the power shifted. But for Marcus, it wasn't about embarrassing her. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming his dignity, about sending a message that he would not be bullied. Into silence. The trash can became more than just a bin on the curb. It became a symbol of resistance, of standing firm when someone tries to push you down again and again. And yet, as satisfying as that victory was, Marcus knew his story wasn't unique. Across neighborhoods, across towns, across the nation, too many people still face the same quiet harassment, the same microaggressions that slowly chip away at their humanity. It's the kind of racism that hides in plain sight, not always loud, not always violent, but relentless in its message. You don't belong here. Marcus's stand was small, but it carried weight. It reminded his neighbors that silence is complicity, and it reminded Karen that cruelty has consequences. So, what do we take from this? That sometimes the strongest resistance isn't in shouting, it's in standing uncheckable, refusing to be moved. Marcus turned a symbol of humiliation into a symbol of strength. And the question remains, how many more trash cans will it take before we finally stop trying to knock people down and start standing together instead?